Hi, this is Jana. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, I just feel like spring. I even put the dogs in their spring little hand kerchiefs that I made for them with their little St. Patty's Day 4-leaf clovers on them. I just feel like spring, and this dessert reminds me of spring every year. Bridal showers, that kind of thing. It's in the air, and you could probably tell my voice sounds a little funny because also in the air is Bradford pear pollen, which is something I did not grow up having around me, and it gets my voice every time. So anyway, I've got 1 cup. We're going to make a cream puff dessert. It goes in a 9x13, perfect for those Sunday brunch, lunch, or bridal shower, baby showers, all that kind of thing when you need to have a nice light, rich dessert. And it's really a very simple recipe. And basically I just make the cream puff batter. Here I've got 1 cup of, this is a 1-1-1 recipe. It's so easy. 1 cup of water brought to a boil. Add 1 stick of butter. And we're going to bring that to a boil till the butter is melted, and then we're going to add 1 cup of flour. So 1-1-1. We're almost there. And I'm going to stir in this flour, and we're going to cook it until it is a ball. This is very fast, but this is a method, so pay attention if you want this to turn out beautifully. I've got my 9x13 pan sitting here. After I do my eggs into this batter, then we'll put it in there and bake it. So I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees this morning. All right, so there's our butter's melted. So now we're going to add in 1 cup of flour. When you measure your flour, spoon it into the cup with a spoon instead of scooping it, because you could end up with too much flour, which could change the consistency of the rise of your cream puff. Okay, you can see there's some lumps and whatever into the flour. I'm going to turn my fire down just a little bit to medium-low. And see how it's kind of falling apart? That's normal, but what we got to keep the heat on it at this point. Get all my flour in there, get it all scraped off the edges, and now I'm going to start to stir it. And we're going to cook that flour. That's what this process is right here. We're going to cook it for about a minute or two until it becomes a solid ball. And see how it's falling apart yet? As soon as it comes together, we know that we're going to be there. I have made this dessert since one of our babysitters for our children had her bridal shower up in Iowa, and somebody had made this dessert. So she's now 50 years old, so you can tell, and she had just graduated college when she got married, so I've made this over 30 years as well. It was so refreshing. It was just, I think I went up and got a second piece. I know I did. Okay, we're just about there. See how it's clearing off the side of the pan? Everything's starting to pull away. And this takes, like I said, about 2 minutes. It's going to form and all pull together. And then we're going to shut off the heat. You don't want anything to dry to the bottom, so just keep. See, now it's become a ball. So now I'm going to shut my heat off completely, and I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to let this set for 5 minutes. All right, it's been 5 minutes. We've let this cool down a little bit. I'm going to add just a dash of salt. You can also add that to your boiling water too. Now, with this cooled down, I'm going to turn my mixer on low. And I'm going to add, I've got 4 eggs. I'm going to add them one at a time and beat thoroughly after each one. And once again, you're going to notice that this is all coming apart, but then it's going to start to come together again. scraping down the sides of my bowl. And here it goes. That fourth egg did the trick. So I'm going to keep beating this, and then we'll be back in just a few seconds. See how the fourth egg got it? This has been literally, a minute later. When we shut the camera off, you can see it's all pulled together now. And that's what you want right there. You want it to be thick and all pulled together. And that's why if you would have added those eggs all four at the same time, it would have been a mess to get this all undone. So I'm going to clean these beaters off and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. You see, it's all pulled together. Got those beaters cleaned off. Now in my 9x13 pan, I've got a little spatula here. Got it sprayed a little. I'm going to mostly just do the bottom of the pan, not necessarily the sides, okay? Now I'm going to take my cream puff pastry dough. I'm going to add it. I times this 1/2 again as big. Like I make, instead of 1 cup, I do 1½ cups and 1½ sticks of butter, blah, blah, blah. And I put it in a great big sheet tray. And when I have a big crowd, and I just put it right on the sheet tray and do the same thing. But for this recipe, it's a 9x13 pan. I'm just going to go ahead and press this into this pan, spread it out over the bottom. And I leave a little bit extra on the sides. And it's going to climb way up high. It's amazing. My daughter even said it's so amazing how big this gets. All those eggs are the leavening in this that makes it rise. And eggs are excellent leaveners. All right. You can really hear my voice. It's like, I think the pollen is, as the sunshine comes out this morning, I think the pollen's getting more intense. We had rain yesterday, which kind of brought it down a little bit, which really helped me a lot. Okay, see how I'm kind of building a little edge? This is not about perfection. This is a rustic French type pastry. You can make it real fancy. Every Christmas I used to make this and made a big Christmas tree out of mini cream puffs and did a filled pastry. Okay, we're going to pop this in the oven at 400 degrees and we're going to bake it for, we're going to start watching it at 20 to 25 minutes and then we'll bring you back and see where it's at. Okay, I set mine for 20 minutes to check on it because every pan is different than a cookie sheet and it's supposed to be for 30 minutes. And look at, we've got a good rise on it. I'm going to test it. Mine is done. You can see it pops back up a little bit. That is done. So I'm going to remove it from the oven and let it rest for about 5 minutes and then we'll be back. Welcome back. And like I said, with this ceramic dish, my oven's on, I had it cooked it on convect. So of course it's going to cook a little bit faster. You know, the recipe calls for up to 30 minutes. You do not want to bake this until it's dry. You still want it to be done. And like I said, when I first took it out, it was, dry on top and springy to the touch. That's where you want it. And you can see it's kind of collapsed in. That's okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measuring cup. And you don't want to wait too long to do this. Like I said, it's about 5 minutes out of the oven. And I'm going to push this down. And you're like, why puff it up and then push it down? You'll see once we put the fillings in. And so I'm just going to get this down to a nice cuff, like a pizza crust kind of. And sometimes it's way puffed up in the center, depending upon, like if I use a baking sheet, sometimes the top in the center is really high. And so then I just push this down. And when I put my filling in it, after it's completely cool, because I don't want to put the cold mixture in it when the pan is still super hot. And then I'm going to bring this down. I like the corners. That's one of my favorite pieces out of this. So anyway, then I just push this down like this and all the way up to the corners. Use a measured cup or coffee cup. And now it's going to cool all the way here on my counter. And then we're going to come back when it's completely cool and put the filling in it and decorate it. Now's the time, while this is cooling, to get out your block of cream cheese and have it set on your counter so it gets to room temperature for the next filling part. Okay, we're back, and the pastry is all cooled down and the pan's cool. We want it room temperature or cooler. And so now I've got the room temperature. Remember when we took that to the oven, we said now's the time to put out that cream cheese to get it to room temperature. And so now I'm going to whip this up. Very important that it is room temperature. Okay, now I'm going to start to very gradually add 4 cups of milk to this mixture. Sloppy. And I'm going to keep going like this until I'm all done with this 4 quarts, and then we'll be back. Okay, we're back, and I am just finishing putting in those 4 cups of milk, or also known as 1 quart of milk. I'm using whole milk because why not? And I've added this to that room temperature because I don't want any lumps of cream cheese. That's my goal anyway, if possible. No lumps of cream cheese. And so I've got this 4 cups into the 1 block of room temperature cream cheese. So now I've got a teaspoon of vanilla, and then I have 3 packages of French vanilla instant Jell-O. Now listen, when I make cream puffs, listen, I make my own cream filling. But for this recipe, this is just something that's really super fast. It's not fussy, it's ingredients. You don't have to know how to do the eggs right and all that. This is just a really simple recipe that anybody literally can make, including young people who are learning to cook. And this is all instant, so it's going to start to thicken up real quick. And I'm going to pause and scrape the bowl down every once in a while here. So remember, it looks like a lot, but it's, 4 cups plus the block of cream cheese, which is 5 cups. Starting to thicken up on us here. And there we go. Now I'm going to scrape my bowl down. And we're going to be back. We're going to let this sit for about 3 or 4 minutes. While this is not a traditional pastry cream that would typically go into a cream puff, this is, like I said, something that's very practical to make for your family dessert. And now I'm just going to take this mixture and I'm going to put it into the pastry. I used to make this for after church on Sundays when my kids were growing up. This is something my husband will go to the refrigerator and serve up himself. He likes it a lot. And so I just use my hand and I pull up the edges and get it underneath that. The edges on the pastry. So that every bite has some of the cream filling. And I go up to the edges. And your puff pastry, it's not puff pastry, your pastry may puff up differently than mine did. Mine's kind of different every time, but you still use that same method of pushing it down in the center and kind of leaving an edge on it. So as long as you have followed this recipe, no matter what, it's going to taste delicious. Okay, so easy peasy. I also want to tell you, if you don't want to use French vanilla, or you can use French vanilla, you can also put bananas on and use it like a banana pudding. You can use banana pudding flavored filling if you want to. And so where typically I would use real whipping cream, I'm just going to use some of the whipped topping today, because remember, we're trying to do something fast, practical, something you may have in your freezer already. And as soon as we get this spread on here, we're going to finish it off. And like I said, I do this half again as much and put it on a big sheet tray. And I'll tell you, some people are going to be going back for seconds on this because it is very tasty. All right, and then this is how I finish it off, but there's a million different ways you can do it as I go through. That simple. That's why I said you can get your kids involved here. Make any design in it you want to. And that is as simple as it is. So now it's going to set up. It's going to take probably about a half hour to an hour in the refrigerator, and it'll be all set up. Thank you for stopping by my kitchen. I'm going to put a piece of it on a plate, and I'm going to have it on the front of the video today, so you're going to be able to see. It's absolutely delicious. Thank you for stopping by my kitchen.